Hey everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of January 4th. This is our first YouTube for the year. So, what in the heck's going on in the Middle East? That's what we want to tackle here. And first things first, make sure you go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com to access the PDF that accompanies this presentation. Okay, let's take a look at our news bites. Netanyahu was in Brazil, and the Brazilians have made it clear that they're moving their embassy to Jerusalem. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. Besides that, Israel got good news from Honduras that they have agreed to proceed with a plan to open an embassy with Israel, and again, destination Jerusalem. On the weird side of things, this relationship between Russia and Syria and Iran and Israel, where does Russia stand in the midst of all this? Well, what happened last weekend, an Israeli airstrike, Hezbollah weapons depot off the Damascus airport. The Russian government's threatening to fire missiles into central Israel in retaliation to any further Israeli airstrikes in Syria. Well, have to wait and see what transpires with that. And then my wife pointed this out to me. It's hard to believe, but with the rise of anti-Semitism today, not so hard to believe. Laura Coab, a former resident at a hospital in the United States in Ohio, has been accused of anti-Semitism after a series of tweets in which she compared Israel to Nazi Germany. But here's the catch. In one of her tweets, she said as a doctor, she would give all the Jews the wrong meds. What a backlash that's taken place. The last I heard is unfortunately for her, she's lost her position at the hospital, but it does not surprise. An article here, apartheid. Israel's often accused of apartheid. The definition of apartheid is a policy or a system of segregation or discrimination on grounds of race. If you know anything about Israel, you know that there are Arab Israelis or Arab citizens. You know that there's Christians. You know that there's Muslims. You know that there's Jews, all co-inhabiting within the framework of Israel. And now with the big question of, the Fatah, the new Palestinian state, check this out. The Ramallah Grand Criminal Court sentenced a Palestinian, by the way, with American citizenship, to life in prison with hard labor after it found him guilty of selling Palestinian land to the Jewish people. Life in prison, hard labor. Did you know that 65% of Palestinians support the death sentence in regards to Arabs selling land to Jews? Talk about apartheid. Well, again, right when you're thinking, okay, is Trump's ultimate peace plan as we look at 2019, will we see a Palestinian state? Will we see both sides lay down their weapons and we'll have peace, etc.? This article, as you can see, the picture that goes along with it is called Fatah's Flowers. As Baas's Fatah movement celebrates its 54th anniversary, its dominant message to its people are celebration of 54 years of violence together with the promise of more violence in the future. The theme, the image, as you can see in the picture, is that of the rifle. It's the main theme of this year's celebration. And in the picture, you see two young girls holding assault rifles, and they're showed leading a march of uniformed men who are also holding assault rifles. Fatah's flowers. Yeah, we'll have peace. Here we go again. That's the name of this next article. After 6 weeks of relative calm in the Gaza, Sderot, Negev area, a rocket was fired from the Gaza Strip. Last Saturday night, Israel responded with helicopter fire on a Hamas post in southern Gaza Strip. The comments from those in Sderot, a month and a half is nothing as far as, quote, a ceasefire. In the end, Hamas, got everything they wanted. They got their money, and now again, here we sit wondering whether or not this ceasefire is going to last or when the next barrage of rockets will come. You know, it's insanity to think that this situation is going to change. And you know what Einstein's definition of insanity was? Basically, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting different results. Gaza, insanity. A report from the IDF, 2018 report. The IDF combat squadrons conducted 2,000 sorties in 2018. Gaza terrorists fired 1,000 rockets. Insanity. There were 33 shootings and 17 stabbings in the West Bank. The IDF mounted a combined 865 air and ground strikes in Gaza. They destroyed 15 terror tunnels breaching Israeli territory from Gaza and 5 tunnels snaking under the Israel-Lebanon border. And they dealt with 87 high-profile terrorist attacks against Judea and Samaria. 7 soldiers and 9 civilians were killed in the terrorist incidents over the past year. That's the report from the IDF. And here's hoping and praying for peace in Jerusalem and a better year. Trump, you know, I'm not sure what to think of this. Trump on Wednesday said that Iran, or Tehran, like the U.S., is beginning to withdraw its forces from Syria. His quote, and quite frankly, people are wondering, what in the world is he saying? Is he confused? But his quote is that Iran is no longer the same country. Iran is pulling people out of Syria. They can do whatever they want there, frankly, but they're pulling people out. They're pulling people out of Yemen. Iran wants to survive now. Again, many in Israel feel that some of these comments are just incoherent. In fact, a quote from a senior Israeli source says, "We are in a state of shock. Trump simply doesn't understand the extent of the Iranian military presence in the region." Right when you have concern, there's another article here. Bibi Netanyahu met with Mike Pompeo in Brazil. And the information that we've gleaned from that, basically the official who joined Netanyahu on his flight back from Israel, from Brazil, said Pompeo had agreed to 8 of the 9 requests Netanyahu made in their meeting regarding Syria and the withdrawal of American troops from Syria. But of course, he declined to comment on the nature of the request and refused to provide any information as to which request was declined. Trump has made it clear nothing has changed between America's commitment to the protection and safety of Israel, but it truly is a bit of a head scratcher. For those that have been with us over the years, you know I speak highly of Carolyn Glick. There's an article here. She's leaving Likud and joining the New Right movement. This is of interest to me. It'll be interesting to see how the new elections in April shake down. Many believe that Netanyahu will retain his prime ministership, but you know it's how the different parties are stacked together to make up a coalition government that should be interesting. You can read that article on its own. And then there was a new discovery in Bet Shean. Take a look at these busts there in the picture. And that's it for this week. We try to keep this at the 10-minute mark, and I just clicked on over. So God bless you. Remember to pray. Be praying for the peace of Jerusalem. And if possible, join us in Israel soon. God bless you, and shalom.